because we do have, actually, in most of this area, we will have two very big school bonds, which are just taxes with interest. They're really double taxation because you're paying twice to three times as more. We had a $15 billion school bond, Proposition 13, will be on the ballot March 3rd, which is about in 3 weeks now, on $15 billion statewide school bond. On top of that, we got a $715 million bond for the Riverside Community College District, which takes in most of Corona, Norco, Riverside, Moreno Valley, Paris, in that. And they all say it's for the children. And you need this, and we got to have this, and our schools are failing. And like I said, I get reports all the time, off the record, of the guys that are actually doing the maintenance on the schools. And they say, the higher ups are telling them, don't fix this stuff. Patch it together. They're not fixing stuff properly. Then when it becomes a crisis, on top of it becoming a crisis, it takes 2 to 3 to 4 to 10 times more to fix it because they didn't fix it when it became a problem. They let it fester. And then they say, our schools are falling apart. We need all this stuff. We need $15 billion statewide. We need $750 million for RCC. We needed $398 million for the Measure M, and I think it was Measure P, which was close to that same amount down in Riverside, and on and on and on. And every school district practically around here was doing that. Corona Norco Unified had one that was $300 million about the same time what was in 2014 as Moreno Valley did. They were all, I mean, we're just getting hit up and down the board each and every day. And we can't take it anymore. And then you hear this lunacy. Like in the LA Times, there's still no evidence taxes are driving residents out of California. Really? I mean, this guy, Michael Hiltkiss of the LA Times, business columnist. Are things that bad at the LA Times that we're getting, I mean, like 100% propaganda? To fill us in on the local stuff, like I said, is Jason Hunter, our man down in Riverside, and our premier expert on these bonds and stuff, because I think he actually sits on one of the bond oversight committees down in the school district, LA. Jason Hunter, welcome back to the show.
Hey, great to be on again, Roy. So it's just free money, right? It's just, you don't ever have to pay it back. That's the good thing about these bonds, right?
There you go. And I just talked about it before you come on just to set you up, but you need to read this. Go to the LA Times in the business section. There's a column. There's still no evidence that taxes are driving residents out of California. I mean,
no evidence at all.
My jaw hit the ground.
Life at all.
Yeah. In the LA Times in the business section, is that how far we are falling down the reality trip? Unreality trip, I guess I should say, that we take. I mean, is just the vast majority of people just stamping this stuff and believing it?
Well, I mean, if you raise taxes and you raise regulations to make housing unaffordable, and then you raise taxes to increase the quality of life, and the net result is homelessness, you have to blame somebody, but it can't be taxes, right?
Yes. Yeah, it isn't that we have the highest housing costs by far, the highest gas prices, the highest education per student, I think, now when you add everything up in that. And we're in the bottom of quality life, and when you adjust it for cost of living, we're 39 out of the 50 states, and on and on. Highest gas taxes, highest gas prices in the whole 50 states. Even Hawaii, where they got to boat it in 2,500 miles, and we produce it right here. That's the lunacy. Tell us about Measure A in Riverside Community College District.
Well, Measure A is on the ballot for March 3rd, and it's to improve school facilities. modernize, build new school facilities for the community college district, which consists of Moreno Valley College, Riverside Community College, and Norco Community College. And, Measure C, which is its predecessor, was passed back in 2004. We're still on that bond. We're still paying it off in our property taxes. In fact, we haven't even finished spending all the money from that bond. And we're going out for another one, this time for $750 million. By the time we pay it back, it'll be $1.4 million. And now, folks, in this area, it's not really a tri-city area because it includes Corona and some other areas as well, but are going to see two assessments now, if this passes, on your property taxes for the community college district. And so, I'm not saying that the community college district doesn't have facilities needs, and and of course, with the ever increasing cost of higher education at the university system, I can see what's driving a lot of students towards community college. Folks that may have at one point in time gone the 4-year route are going 2 years at the community college so they can get access to cheaper credits before they make the move to transfer. So I do get that. They are seeing a lot higher demand, particularly over in the Moreno Valley and Norco campuses where they need to grow. I'm not saying they don't have needs, Roy, but what I'm saying is the public controls the purse strings. In the contract with which they can build these facilities is Measure A. That's a contract, that ballot measure. And our contract, the public's contract, is a terrible one, and I'll tell you why. Because Measure A has no project list, meaning that they're asking for $715 million, and they're not stating what they're actually going to build with it. And I think that is a terrible deal, prone to future bait and switches. And it may not even be this, and I have no reason to believe that it's this administration and this group of electeds who are the trustees over at RCCD, but you have to not just trust them, you have to trust everybody who comes after them for probably the next 20, 30 to 40 years. And I think that is just a bridge too far. I think that's a bad contract. I think given what we've seen here, at least in Riverside, I'm sure you've seen a little bit out in your area as well in Moreno Valley, and I'm sure people have seen it in Corona and Norco, is that if you write these kind of what I call blank checks, they will come back to bite you at some point in time. And here in Riverside, we saw it with Measure Z, the 1 cent sales tax adder was passed in 2016, which turned into an employee pension and salary, basically, tax. In fact, the first two things they did once they passed it was called the Vital Services and Public Safety Measure. They went out and they decided to build a new library. They already had a library, a downtown library, and they decided to move it. And I don't know where that fed into Vital Services and Public Safety. And then we paid off pensions.
Yes.
And we continually to try to pay off pensions, and we gave a lot of the employees, I would almost say almost across the board, our employees additional 10-12% bump in their salaries based upon Measure Z passing. The second measure is Measure O. Measure O was passed in 2016 here in Riverside as well, under the pretense that all the existing schools were going to get fixed, all the kids were going to be moved out of the portables, et cetera, et cetera. And then what happened 3 years later is we find they're using the money to build 4 new schools in a period where they have declining enrollment. And so it looks like we've been bait and switch a couple times here in this community. And now we have a ballot measure A, where they're asking us and setting us up to do the same thing. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but why would you put yourself in that position? Fool me once, fool me twice. Hopefully, fool me 3 times. Shame on me.
Yes, you would think so. And I said that, and just before you came on, I mean, I've got off the record reports from the people that actually do the maintenance, and they have told them not to do, not to fix things right or just patch it up, da 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 da. Then they come up with this, well, everything's falling apart, and not only is it costing 2, 5, and 10 times more to fix it, like you said, there is no rhyme or reason what they can spend it on, because the Measure M money, I've never got an accurate figure, but it could be anywhere from 0 to 28 million, because that's what they spend on Chromebooks, which a lease of Chromebooks that I understand for 3 years, and we're paying 30 years on these. They bought them out of the Measure M money, saying that it was part of the technology we talked about. You should only use long-term 30-year money. if you're using 30-year money, it should be something that's going to last at least 30 years, like a actual school. Not doing repairs or doing Chromebooks or running stuff like this or whatever. That should be coming out of the general fund budget. But what the bait and switch I've seen is they defer these costs and then they package them into a bond, which leaves more money in the general fund so they can raise their salaries or buy platinum on top of gold pension and medical benefits for the employees. That's a dirty little secret, I believe, the con that's been played on us for decades out here.
Well, if you look at the propaganda that's I'm sure folks are hearing on the radio, on Facebook, they're seeing in their mailers about Measure A. I just want folks to know this. I don't care what's on those propaganda pieces, whether it's about veteran centers or fixing leaky roofs or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Even if they see some things in the actual ballot language that make them believe that certain facilities are going to get built, I can assure you none of them are guaranteed. They are all optional, up to the whims of whoever's in control of the money at that point in time on the RCCD Board of Trustees. And who pays for all those nice, shiny, glossy propaganda pieces and those radio spots and those Facebook ads? Well, my guess is by the time we finally see some 460s on these, 460s are basically records that the state forces these ballot measure campaigns to reveal who's behind, who's supporting these efforts financially. My guess is you're going to see a lot of people like architects and lawyers and construction companies and construction management companies and consultants who all want to feed from the Measure A trough. So you cannot believe, in my opinion, it's all biased, everything that's coming out in your mail to sell this measure to the public. It's dishonest, in my opinion. It's dishonest to tell people they're going to get something when there's no guarantee.
Yes, it's just like one of the latest ones of the hotel tax passed in Marina Valley. They said, in the glossy photo, we're going to put it into public safety, da 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 da. And I think it was Councilmember Dave Marquez asked at the meeting, well, what can we do with this? Well, whatever 3 votes on the council decides. If we want to buy, bunny rabbits and kitty cats or feed the homeless or something, that's in your, it's all going into the general fund, which means they have a lot of discretion of how to spend this stuff.
Well, if you think about, so how do they figure out what to put in the ballot propositions and on these propaganda pieces, and how do they figure out what is it going to be that they need to convince the public to reach into their pockets and shell out some more money for? A lot of times, and I'm not sure if it happened with Measure A, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, is that they actually pay pollsters to go out and do what we call push polls to figure out from the public, paid for, by the way, with the public money, to figure out what key phrases or catchwords or whatever the public might be the most sympathetic to get them to open their pocketbooks and their wallets one more time. And so the whole process, in my opinion, once you understand how it works soup to nuts from the beginning, when they try to get these ballot measures passed, and the way they write them at the very end I don't want to call it a fraud, but I just want to say it's dishonest. And the public needs to become better educated as to who's really benefiting from these measures.
Yes.
Not to say that the children, of course, and they're always going to scream about the children, look at the children, and the children do get some benefits, but who else is riding on these?
Yes, they're using our own money to raise our taxes or advocate for that, in my opinion, because when you're doing a push poll, there's no reason to do a push poll other than you're trying to get an end result. You're not putting out information, as my understanding they're legally allowed to do, but they're not able, government agencies, I should say, are not able or legally have the ability to advocate for a position or shape that public opinion in one way or the other. And if they are not crossing that line, they're bumping really hard on it. I know Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association has been really looking into that and filed some lawsuits on that. And that's another area of the law that really needs to be looked at. We got about a minute left. What do you got to wrap it up?
Well, it's going to, once again, it's on the ballots for March 3rd. The two big ballot measures out there for the public are this Measure A and also this Proposition 13, which is a state school bond measure. And, I think the public at some point in time has to get a better contract with its government agencies. And that's all that these ballot measures really are. They're contracts between the people who are paying the taxes and the districts who will be charged with using the money for the betterment of the community. And we're not saying, and I'm not saying currently that there isn't some benefit of having new and improved facilities, but we have to write a better contract to make sure that's what actually happens with the money and it doesn't go to other things.
We're not,
and I don't think it's too much for the districts to give us a project list if they need to come with smaller amounts of money, but more often, as opposed to going for the whole enchilada like they appear to be here with the $715 million measure, then so be it. They just need to rethink how they approach the public, because we need a better contract with specificity towards what's actually going to get built.
I agree. We need more accountability on that before we turn over our tax dollars. Thanks for being on the show, Jason. We'll have you back more as this, because we only got 2 or 3 weeks left, and the public needs to have all the information. Thanks for being on, Jason.
Oh, no. Take care. Bye-bye.
You got it. That's it. We're getting ready to roll out the show on that. We had Eddie George from IE News, Jason Hunter from Riverside on that. Talked about that incredible video. Take that video and share it to spread that far and wide. We need to defeat that kind of sentiment if we're ever going to have a sane society that we can all live in coherently on that. So on that, we'll be back on Fast Friday tomorrow on that with Stephanie and stuff, and along with covering the news, cover some of the lightest stuff and events and stuff that are going on all across not only the IE but the world. So till tomorrow at 5, see ya.